Hey everyone, I'm going to be talking about the formative assessment tool Poll Everywhere. Essentially what Poll Everywhere is it is a website where you can create questions or pose questions for your students. These questions or polls that you make can be integrated into some sort of slideshow presentation. So if I was doing a Google Slides presentation in my class, I might integrate a couple of polls just to check that are we paying attention, are we getting the material, are we having questions that we need to ask along the way? Or rather than integrating it into a presentation, you can even just pull up your polls and have students join in to answer questions. So there's a couple of options for students to join Poll Everywhere. They can either text a code using their mobile devices, or if they have some sort of Chromebook, computer, personal device, they can also go to the Poll Everywhere personal page that I have set up. So students could go to my page, I can activate certain polls and they can respond to them. As I was going through and exploring the website, I really like it because it gives that option for, rather than me just standing up and lecturing to a class, I can actually get feedback from my students and make sure they're staying engaged and asking questions when they have them. There's a lot of different poll options that are available. Some of my favorites, I picked 3 that I like the most. One was the option to do just open-ended questions. So I could pose a question to my students and they would have the option or ability just to respond to whatever questions. Or they themselves could ask me questions, if they weren't getting something. But that's anonymous. It just pops up like a discussion board screen and it just keeps scrolling through. And so that gives me quick feedback to see what are we making sense of, what are we still confused on. Another option that was cool is you can make clickable or interactive images, and one that they had available was the frowny face to happy face scale like you see in the doctor's office. And it was asking, you could ask students, how well are you understanding this content, or how well are you understanding what we've talked about today? And students can go click on the image where they're feeling. And then that gives me some feedback to know too, what do we need to circle back and look at, or did we really feel like we nailed this material today? The final option that I liked a lot was that you can post either multiple choice or survey questions, and so that could even give students some practice with, can you answer a question quick in some sort of format that might resemble a test or a quiz. And so that way they're getting familiar with the format, but also quizzing and testing themselves along the way to make sure that they're understanding as we go. Overall, I think this could be a great tool to use in the classroom, and I have a couple of examples that I put together that I'm going to show y'all in just one second.
Okay, so when you run Poll Everywhere, if you're using it in the classroom, you'll have a teacher view and there will also be a student view. So today's lesson we talked about different characteristics of life. And so what I'm doing now is I'm going to go through and ask my students some different recap questions from the lesson or get some feedback from them. So when I have my teacher view pulled up here on the left, I'll activate my poll. And then students have that option to respond to my open-ended questions. So I might ask, what questions do you still have from today's activity? And then students are able to type in what questions they still have, and then they'll pop up like a discussion board, constantly refreshing. And so then as responses are posted, they'll continue cycling through, and then those give me some questions that students can anonymously post, and I'll have the option to answer. So when I'm looking at questions, one of them was, why aren't viruses alive? And so then that would open the opportunity to discuss, well, they don't have all the characteristics of life. They can't produce their own energy, they don't reproduce on their own, and then we can initiate a class discussion from there. Students can continuously keep posting questions until I either lock the poll or I deactivate it. And so at the bottom too, I'm able to cycle through to move to the next questions that I have queued up. So this might be more of a multiple choice option where I ask students to respond to a question. So biology is the study of what? and then students would participate, and this would give me quick feedback to understand what are they understanding, what do we need to go back and discuss a little bit further. And then again, I can just keep clicking through, and maybe at the end of class I want to see how students are feeling about how well they understand the characteristics of life. Students can click on the interactive image, and then I will be able to see on my teacher view where the majority of clicks are showing up. These are just a few ways that you can use Poll Everywhere in the classroom to get some good formative assessment feedback and hopefully build on to your lesson from there. Thanks.
So in addition to the examples I've shown you, Poll Everywhere is also a really great opportunity for some collaborative learning between students. Rather than me jumping in and answering questions, it could be an opportunity for peers to discuss ideas. So if I pose a question, maybe students have to collaborate and think together what's a response we can come up with to that. And it's also nice because you can close the poll whenever you want to. So if you want to give students a set time limit and say, here's 20 seconds, answer this, you can kind of keep progressing through the lesson as needed, and then you can integrate the polls as much as you want. That way you're constantly and consistently getting student feedback, but also giving them an opportunity to really stay engaged and be thinking as we're going through stuff. Thanks for watching.